Today we're going to take apart this 9mm Luger Model C9 pistol by High Point Firearms. To do this, we're going to need a roll of duct tape. Use the roll of duct tape as a way to set the weapon on so we can drive pins down through the frame. A ball peen hammer, 3 pin punches. You're going to need a 16th inch pin punch, a 3/32 inch pin punch, and a 1/8 of an inch pin punch. Also going to need a 3/32 Allen screw, or an Allen wrench, and your bare hands. Now this is going to be a detail strip. We're going to take everything down. This is going to completely take the gun apart. There are a lot of videos out there on how to field strip the weapon. Nothing that I've seen that goes into detail stripping. So once I'm done taking the gun apart, I'll make another video putting the gun back together. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove the magazine from the gun, make sure that there are no rounds loaded in the chamber. We'll lock the chamber open with the slide, make sure that there's nothing in the chamber, and then lay the gun down on the piece of duct tape so that we can drive this pin that resides right at the back of the gun. There's a notch cut in the slide on both sides of the gun. And we have to drive this pin through so that we can disengage the slide from the frame. So to do that, we'll just take our 3/32 inch pin punch, lock the slide open with the safety. Now when you do this, the safety is going to disengage from the vibration of the hammer. You're just going to have to keep reapplying the safety until we drive the pin out through the bottom of the gun. Got lucky there, lightning struck. But with the safety still engaged, you want to pull the pin out of the back of the frame. There's our pin right there. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. Now we're going to allow the slide to go to battery by disengaging the safety. In order to disengage the slide from the frame, we need to push back on the slide and pull up at the same time. Once we've gotten it to a point, the retaining pin, the slide retaining pin, will let go loose of the frame. The slide retaining pin sits in this guide channel right down here in the top of the slide. So we'll go ahead and we'll remove the slide retaining pin. It's got a hole in the bottom of it that pin sets in. That's what locks the frame to the slide. We'll pull our firing pin springs out. There are 2 springs. On the older model, there was a little plastic cup that this spring rode against, but now they use a spring that is wound counterclockwise and a spring that is wound clockwise. The springs fit together, and when they are compressed, because of their opposite flights, they don't get knotted up when the slide is racked to the back. We'll take those apart, set them aside, and then the firing pin comes out of the guide channel. We got the firing pin rests in that guide channel. Now, this being a detail strip, we're going to go ahead and remove the rear sight. In order to do that, we're going to take the 3/32 inch Allen wrench and remove the rear screw that anchors the sight to the top of the frame. Take a slotted screwdriver and remove the front elevation screw. And while you're doing this, you want to hold down on the sight because there's a small spring underneath the sight that'll pop right out if you get the sight caught in there, and then all of a sudden the spring lets loose things go across the room. The screw, the elevation screw, the sight, and the spring that sits right down in that little depression right there in the slide. After that, we're going to drive the pin that holds the ejection key out. We'll take our 1/16 inch pin punch and we'll drive that pin out the top of the slide. Now this pin has got a permanent, or it's purposefully bent. It's bent right there at the back. That's so that it binds in the hole as the pin is driven in, so that the pin doesn't come out the top of the slide. All we have to do is just turn the slide over, and the ejection key and its spring come out also. We'll go ahead and set those aside. That's it for the slide. The slide is completely disassembled at this point. Now the lower part, the frame, we've got our recoil spring and our recoil guide rod. They reside in this small channel right down here at the bottom of the frame, right under the barrel. The recoil spring and the guide rod, they come apart. And now we're ready to remove the grips on the weapon. To do this, we'll start on the left-hand side grip and we'll advance the safety to the on position. You'll notice that when that happens, the safety rides against this pin on the sear, and that's what keeps the sear from acting whenever the safety is on. But we're going to remove this grip on the left-hand side of the gun first. Do that with a Phillips head screwdriver. Now when you put these back together, you want to be careful because this is just a little bitty sheet metal screw with some coarse flights on it, because you're just screwing into a polymer frame. The grip is polymer, the frame is polymer. You just don't want to strip the screw out when you go to put it back together. Pull the grip off, and then you can just lift the safety up off of its little stationary post that sits right there in the frame.